Hello and welcome to another End User Talk podcast. I'm your hostess, Jamila, your Lady in Tech. Hello and welcome, Jamie, to the End User Talk podcast. I appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. In spite of all of the craziness of this world right now, I'm actually doing quite well. So thank you for asking.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And you are correct. 2020 has been quite the roller coaster of events.
Yes.
Illness, just everything, and anything you could possibly think about.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Just so before we get started, I like to have my guests give themselves a brief introduction to the audience in the event they are not sure who you are or anything that you might have been related to or affiliated with. So do you mind introducing yourself?
Not at all. My name is Jamie Broadnax. I'm the founder and CEO of the platform Black Girl Nerds. It's a website. It's a multimedia company. We report on the news and the entertainment space, and that's mostly movies, TV. Also, we dive into comics and gaming and the tech space every now and then. So it's basically the intersection of Black feminism and geek culture. And I've been doing that now for, I started the website in 2012, but I didn't actually officially make it into a company or business, because, I was not really giving myself credit for the work that I was putting out there. But it wasn't until late 2017 that I made it into an LLC and actually made it into a business. So I've been doing that, nonstop, full time. So yeah, that's me.
Well, that sounds great. It definitely sounds like a very interesting niche or category. May I ask, how did you come up with Black Girl Nerds?
Yeah, so one day I was on the internet and I Googled the term Black Girl Nerds and nothing came up on Google, which is the largest search engine in the world where you can find any and everything under the sun. And when I did pull up, queries under Black Girl Nerds, and under specifically the Google Images section, it was white women wearing glasses with black frames. So there really wasn't much content, and there certainly wasn't an afterthought for the term Black Girl Nerds. So I was just like, I'm just going to create a blog. I had a little bit of experience, not too much. And even at that time, I had created like a little Facebook page called Black Girl Nerds, thinking that, this is just a cute little community page that I'll just create. And some people had liked it. I think I had like 50, likes, or, at that time it wasn't a group page. It was just like a fan page. So I had like 50 likes or something. So it was very small. But yeah, I went ahead and created a blog, and within probably 48 hours, I had someone email me and say, I stumbled onto your site and I love it and I want to write content for you. And this was a published author. So someone with, obviously a great deal of writing experience, professional writing experience at that, was willing to contribute their time into this little blog that just recently published on the web. And I didn't realize that I was, actually filling a space and filling a niche that was needed and that had been kind of yearned for. So the momentum built up relatively very quickly. And it's now become, what you see today. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
Isn't it interesting how you can kind of just think that, I'm just going to go on here and, in your case, create a Facebook page or create a website and really kind of take my thoughts, my ideas, my likes, my dislikes, or my experiences, and you create just something really for yourself to kind of express. And because it's a public expression or self-expression, you might find that someone else kind of felt the same way, or there's a kindred spirit. And then you realize, you know what? I'm not the only one out here who felt this way. Or especially as Black women.
Yes.
Going back to the term nerd. Now, most of us, or at least I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
When you hear the term or the word nerd, or if you're called that, generally it's referring to, we'll say, book smarts.
Yes.
It's not in most cases generalized towards a liking of music or television, movies. In this case, this day and age, anime is in line with this type of category. In most cases, you're just considered weird because it doesn't fall along the same popular categories or listening culture, if you will. So you're just labeled weird.
Yeah. I mean, I've always seen the term nerd as an elusive term. It means different things to different people. And definitely over, probably within the last 10 to 15 years, especially since the inception of Comic-Con and the fandom space, I think that the term nerd now has sort of gone into fandom culture more. So people that are into Star Trek and people that are into comic books and into gaming, they embrace that term more than people in the academic space or even in the tech space. But there are people in the tech community that even use the term nerd, and they use that, as a part of their moniker and their branding and companies and things like that. I think Best Buy does it with the Geek Squad or something like that.
True.
But I think it's a term. Again, it's something. It depends on the person. I think labels it can be good and bad. I think obviously, when you use it for bad, it puts people in boxes. But sometimes when you use labels, it can create community, and it's a way for people to find each other. And that's kind of what the term nerd has done for a lot of people. And that's what the term blurred, which is the portmanteau term for Black nerd, has done for the Black community and embracing, nerd culture and geek culture. So it's been a way of, just being able to find like-minded people to celebrate the different kind of fandoms that you're in, different kind of hobbies and interests that you like, and say, oh, you're a fan of sci-fi, or you're a fan of Afrofuturism, or, whatever. And it's just a way to kind of identify folks. But I'm not one of those folks that are if you don't call yourself a nerd, you can't be a part of our community, or you can't be a part of this brand or whatever. I don't look at it like that. You do you. But I think Black girl nerds, in my opinion, I just never saw it. It wasn't something that I never saw the term nerd and Black girl together, even in a sentence, before even forming this site. And that's not to say it wasn't there. I'm not even saying I was the first one. I certainly wasn't, but it wasn't something that was on my radar, and it was something that was very rare. So, which is hence the reason why when I went to Google, nothing came up. But, I think at the end of the day, people can, stick with whatever is comfortable for them when it comes to, calling yourself a nerd or defining what the term nerds means to you.
This day and time, I guess it's more so now because we have social media. So much is in our faces, and you just find that a lot of groups of people or individuals are trying to find an identity. Mm-hmm. We've got terms for everything because we have to put a name on whatever this thing is that isolates me from the popular, or me being separate, if you will.
Yeah.
So these terms, as you stated, they either are going to be a term of used as a term of endearment, mm-hmm. A term of acceptance, and that's either you learning how to accept you for being different, or it's an announcement also to others who don't know how to categorize you.
Yeah.
This is my space. This is my identity. This is who I am. What's interesting about what you're doing is, as Black women, we find ourselves in this position all the time in every space we are in. It doesn't matter our educational prowess. It doesn't matter our background, economical or social economical place. We're still trying to find an identity for ourselves, or just being accepted and being allowed to be whoever it is we are in the skin that we live in. So it's interesting in that we have to name everything. And then, being Black women, we've got to try to find an acceptable corner or section for ourselves so that people can just look at us and, I guess, accept us for who we are and be appreciative for the things that we contribute, which, as Black women or Black people in general, a lot of the things that we do contribute here, the world would be the entertainment industry, the fashion industry, just about every industry would be pretty boring. So that's what my podcast does. That is the whole idea by what I'm doing, is because I, as a Black woman, and I have 3 daughters, young adult women. And as a mother, you can only do so much to try to give your daughter an identity and help them find their self-worth and self-esteem. Because, as you know, you go through this life and you're going to go through so many different obstacles. What I want to do with my platform is talk to people like yourself so that my girls have other Black women to look at and model themselves after, and even come up with ideas. In your journey, how difficult has it been to find your own self-acceptance, and then at the same time be okay if outsiders didn't accept you?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think that's been honestly my fatal flaw, is this incessant need for acceptance, and also just the lack of security, just this huge insecurity that I have about myself. Like I mentioned, earlier, when you first asked me to introduce myself, and I talked about my business and how I took so many years to form it into a company because I didn't even quite believe in myself. 2012 was when Black Girl Nerds, the website, was formed, and it grew in popularity. I had people like Shonda Rhimes, mentioning me in Marie Claire magazine, having all of these celebrities following the account. Lots of folks were really gravitating to the social media side of the brand, but also, there was a lot of writers that were interested in wanting to be a part of the website side of the brand. And I didn't believe in myself to think that this was big enough to run as a company that could be profitable. I didn't believe in myself as someone who could be a boss or an entrepreneur or a leader. I use those terms superficially, but I didn't believe in it. So, it's something that has been a struggle with me for quite some time now. And it wasn't until I got hit hard with a really huge blowback to, my career, both personally and professionally, that I realized, I had to reassess some things. So I think that, at the end of the day, when it comes to, dealing with this, because I think a lot of us as women, and certainly a lot of us as Black women, struggle with this, is, before you dive into any sort of business, or even if it starts off as a hobby and it starts to grow bigger than something that you could have ever imagined, get outside of yourself for a second and try to figure out, first and foremost, is this something that you want as a business, as a company? Do you want to grow it into something that's profitable? Do you want to have people working for you? Do you want to have, contractors, employees, et cetera, et cetera? Think about these things, because I don't think it was something that I quite evaluated personally when I started Black Girl Nerds. I just thought, oh, this is a fandom website. This is a blog. Like I called it a blog, and I'm talking about my own personal musings on geek culture, and I would live tweet and have fun on social media, but I never took it all seriously. And I was working my 9 to 5, so it wasn't like this was a full-time thing for me. So I never really took it seriously. But studios and different brands and companies would approach me and, want to partner with me. So they took the brand more serious than the person that was actually creating it did. So yeah, it was definitely a struggle, but I definitely have moved past that struggle. Well, I wouldn't even say definitely. I've moved past the struggle, but even today, as I've gotten, a little bit more wiser in my entrepreneurial journey, I am still dealing with the whole, why does this person think this way about me? And I hate that about myself. And I've been that way since I was a kid. Like I remember being in grade school and people would talk about me, at the cafeteria, or the girls wouldn't sit next to me. And I'd be like, why? What did I do? Do I smell bad? Like what's going on? So it is something that I still kind of wrestle with, but it's not as bad as it was when I first started this brand. I hope that answered your question. I feel like I took the scenic route to the answer to that, but yeah.
No, I appreciate the way. So this is the thing. This is about you. The only way that you can elaborate on something is based on your experience. Yeah. So if the scenic route is the route you're going to take, I'm here for it.
Okay.
Because the reason why is because, as I stated, my podcast the intent is for one, people to elaborate on their experiences. If someone is listening, we don't know what they're going through. We don't know what they're struggling with.
Yeah.
And the conversations that I have, I use this phrase or this term. I like to speak with purpose.
Yeah.
Because you can just be talking and nothing be of use. You can just use a bunch of words. So that's the whole point. And I appreciate your scenic route, because I think what you're touching on is, as you stated, you started this and it wasn't really something that you were thinking of becoming something to the scheme that it has become now, that it's grown to.
Yeah.
You were just utilizing resources and tools that you had to get whatever was going on in your head out.
Yeah. I enjoyed the fandom of it all. I enjoyed, being in a community of people on social media to talk about my favorite comic books and TV shows and games. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. I didn't look at it as, oh my gosh, this is a business. You could actually you could actually partner with this corporate, sponsor and do something to where you can actually make a living off of this. I wasn't thinking that way. And, in hindsight, I think about conversations of people that have actually had given me, ideas and suggestions, in the early stages of Black Girl Nerds. And had I taken up, those ideas into consideration, probably would be a little bit further off than where I am today. But, I am someone who does believe very strongly that everything does happen for a reason. And I am in the position that I am, and that I am created, for a purpose, and that the reason why I'm here, because this is where God wants me to be, not to get too, faith-based on your podcast, but I really do feel confident that even with everything that's happened, with either the choices I didn't make or the decisions that I did make, good or bad, I'm supposed to be where I am right now. And I'm actually happy with where I am right now, because who knows, maybe if I had made some of those choices early on when it came to, I should have started my business in 2013 instead of 2017. it could have led to some really bad decisions because I was too green to know, when to say no or, what have you. So I definitely, I feel like I'm in the right space right now.
And, that's a great point that you mentioned. And growth can develop at any point in our stage of whatever our journeys are. So you are correct. Things happen for a reason, and they happen when they are supposed to happen. And if your belief is in God and making this path for you and putting these things in the appropriate timing in your life, and the whole point is whatever path you took, it's your path. It's your journey, and you are where you are. Who knows why? Because you are here. But we do have to understand that even building a business, building or redirection in our own personal lives, it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight.
Right.
Despite what the magic of social media shows us, we see people blow up and I've made millions, or you're seeing them showing all of the brands and the partnerships that they have. And, we get all starry eyed because I would love to do that too, but we don't know what that person's journey is. We don't know what it took for them to get there or why they're there. We just have to.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, I see so many people, and I do blame, social media is a blessing and a curse. Like, I love social media for what it's done for Black Girl Nerds. But at the same time, I noticed that social media does give this false sense of security when it comes to the come up, when it comes to being internet famous. Because there's a lot of people out there that have gotten internet famous off of social media. I watch a lot of YouTube these days, and I see all of these YouTube stars. I mean, YouTube stars make ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, they're making as much money as, NFL stars and actors and actresses in Hollywood, millions and millions of dollars. And then you hear these really bad horror stories of how they lost it all because, they just couldn't get themselves together. And a lot of that has to do with, getting too popular too fast. And I don't want to be in that position, which kind of harkens back to the conversation of starting Black Girl Nerds, later than rather sooner, because, I don't ever want to be in a position where I get too successful too quickly and then I don't know how to handle that success. And then it either takes over me, and then I just fail miserably at it, or I just decide to just chuck it all and give it up. Because, seeing those horror stories from like as drastic as suicide to, YouTubers just canceling their channels and just giving up their brand altogether. I never want to see myself in a position where I just completely throw everything away because I couldn't handle, the tough part of what it is to be successful. So if it means that, it's going to have to take some time and, it's going to take some years, that's fine. I'm still young. And this is for anybody listening, like, don't feel like because you are not on, you see somebody next to you in the lane that you're running and they're faster than you or they're miles ahead, that somehow you're not as successful or that you're not going to be as successful. Everybody has a different path. And who knows, that person that's really successful right now, fire might burn really, really fast and nobody will care about them or hear about them, years from now. Meanwhile, you've built your brand. You've started from, laying the groundwork, doing it slowly. And just making sure that the ground laying is secure and sustainable to where people will remember you because you've built a legacy. So that's kind of the way I look at things when it comes to success. I rather take the slow road and be the hare that eventually finishes the race. The tortoise, that finishes the race as opposed to the hare that, feels like because they're faster that they can win the race and eventually they lose. So, yeah.
Well, that's a very good point too, because clearly you're not it's longevity. And with all of this fame, we're seeing younger and younger people who are rising to the top very quickly. Now, mind you, it's some of it is positive and some of it isn't so positive. But
right.
The point is to be, if you're 15 and you're a social media or YouTube sensation, you want those funds to be able to last you. Well, as we consider retirement, everybody wants to get to the point where they can retire and they're not working for the money anymore. They're just, they're living, they're able to enjoy it, so.
Yep. I mean, it's important. Like during this whole time of COVID, I'm so grateful too. I mean, I hate to say it, but, COVID is, even just what's going on right now, has been sort of a blessing in disguise, because I've taken on a new skill. And I hope a lot of people that are listening have, done things where they've learned new skills or trades or come up with ideas while they're in quarantine. Because I also feel like that's kind of God's way of trying to redirect all of us in this world where we're all kind of, just wasting our lives away trying to, improve, trying to prove ourselves to other people and all of these kind of things. But maybe we just need to take some time for ourselves and kind of learn something new. So anyways, I say that to say, I'm learning more about investing and long-term investing and building myself up to where when I'm all said and done with Black Girl Nerds, I'll be able to retire and, I'm sitting pretty and I don't have to worry about, my finances. So that is something that I've been doing as well. In addition to, running my business, is focusing on long-term financial investing, which is something everybody should be doing, period. But yeah.
Well, I think after the conversation, Jamie, you and I are going to have to, I want you to pass those lessons down to me. Because I kid you not, that is one thing I would like to understand. I'm not trying to be a day trader or anything like that, but I definitely would like to understand the stocks and the market and all of that lingo. But yeah, we'll go back to that later.
Yeah, absolutely. I've put my hand in day trading, and right now it's kind of risky to do it, but it's been very profitable and it's kind of fun. And I would suggest, like right now, while the stock market is kind of going in a downward direction, while things are cheap, if you guys ever want to look into stock market trading, now's the time to do it.
Are you, I heard someone else I interviewed before, they mentioned Forex. Are you into that type or just?
No, I don't do Forex trading. I just do the regular U.S. stock market.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I do stock market, like shares and options trading.
All right. Well, there you go. There you have it.
Something new you guys probably didn't know about Jamie Broadnax. Now you know.
And that's the whole point. Well, thank you for sharing that. You have a marketing degree. Is that correct?
I do have a marketing degree.
Okay. So has your marketing degree helped you in now that you are looking at this on the business side of the house, or have you not really referred to it or utilized it much?
Yeah, I've definitely utilized my marketing degree. Absolutely. I mean, I don't even think Black Girl Nerds would be as successful as it is if it weren't for me having some kind of marketing experience. And I utilize that really every day when I'm promoting the site in some capacity, whether it's through social media or I'm doing, advertising with, when I'm working with actual advertisers for ad buys for the site. So definitely, my marketing degree has helped a lot, and I'm grateful for that. I think social media has definitely, like 110%, has helped me more than anything else. My marketing degree did not have a focus on social media, so most of my social media, I guess, experience was more homegrown. But just learning how to keep yourself out there, learning the different times when to post things, and staying engaged is another factor. And then also kind of looking at other ways, looking at different platforms is what I mean, to market yourself. So not just looking at one social media account, but having multiple social media accounts. And then also things like SEO, search engine optimization. That's anybody that has a website, by the way. Like if you have a website, you need to know what SEO is. If you don't know what SEO is, you need to learn, because you got to keep yourself relevant in the rankings of Google so people can find your content. And if you are a website that does news commentary or, any sort of journalism, you need to have your site submitted to Google News. So just type in Google News and, you can find out how to apply there. So, things like that is important when it comes to marketing. And that's something that I've, obviously fostered and learned through my experience getting a degree. But for the most part, to give myself credit, a lot of it is stuff that I've had to kind of learn on my own, because the marketing degree that I earned was sort of like traditional, like old school marketing when they didn't have social media, when they didn't have the internet.
Right.
So, back in the print publications and all of that. But the different core principles of marketing are still there.
That's good. Now, I failed to mention you also have a degree in film. So it's a degree in film and marketing. So that I'm sure has lended a lot in the area of your film critic, being a film critic. And that is an interesting area as well. Being a film critic as a Black woman, have you run into any questionable or gotten any backlash, or maybe not the same type of a treatment? Because I always remember just your traditional film critics, they're generally white males or white older males. So to hear that you are in that ring or arena as well, it's very interesting to me. So what has your experience been?
I mean, it's been mixed. I'll be honest with you. I mean, for the most part, it's been positive, but there's been some, backlash here and there when I've reviewed movies. I remember years ago when I reviewed the movie Fantastic Four, and I liked it and nobody else did, and I remember getting accused by a whole bunch of fanboys, mostly white men, saying that the only reason I liked it was because Michael B. Jordan was in it, because he was race bent as Johnny Storm, which back then was kind of a big deal. And, I kind of got flack from some of the gatekeeper nerds at that time. But then, I'll review a film and it'll get a lot of praise. And sometimes the studio will be like, hey, can we use your quote in our marketing? And I'm like, oh, of course. That's great. Thank you. So there's films that I've reviewed that have definitely favored well with fans. And then sometimes, people don't like it, or even other critics don't like it. I think, oh gosh, which one? Oh yeah, I think it was Rim of the World, some Netflix film that I reviewed. I remember getting a lot of negative comments on the site from, I think it was from other critics, that just because I'm on Rotten Tomatoes as a critic, and I shouldn't say other. Well, I don't know if it was from other critics. I think it got so much attention because it was on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was like one of the few, if not the only critic that liked it. So for the most part, like the flack that I've gotten is because I liked a movie and everybody else, it was panned by everybody else.
Right.
So yeah. But there's times where there's things that I don't like that everybody else likes. So
but I think that's a general, everybody's not going to like what you like. Your opinion, the way something appeals to you might be different from, I think that's a basic generalization that, you could see the same thing and someone else get something totally different out of the experience versus what you did. So I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. And I get it because, like, I remember being mad at Armand White. He's a critic for The Atlantic. And he was like, he didn't like Get Out. And I was like, what? How do you not like Get Out? So, like, I remember, me feeling that way towards critics when they didn't like a film.
Right.
And even some of the critics that didn't like Black Panther. I'm like, what is wrong with you? What, so, everything is, it's subjective. Like,
it is.
You have your opinion. I have my opinion. And that's just the way it's going to be. And, like, people think that, Rotten Tomatoes and the way the aggregator works is sort of the arbiter and, that they're sort of the authority on all things opinion when it comes to films. And it's not. It's just a site where, critics get to submit the films that they like or don't like. And for some reason, the studios slap on some marketing. And if it's fresh, they'll slap that on as marketing. But at the end of the day, it's really up to the fans because the fans is what makes the movie money.
Exactly. As we're talking about this, I was thinking, and I believe our last discussion, I mentioned to you that I watched the show by Kenya Barris, one of his other shows, called Black AF on Netflix.
Oh, Black AF.
Yeah. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to watch it since our last discussion, but I do remember he is the writer of course, a lot of shows. And in the show, he portrays watching a Black film, a potential film or writer. He's putting out a show and he had like the little discussion panel. Mm-hmm. He was stating that there's this pressure, or what he was insinuating, there's this pressure because you are Black that you have to like everything Black that's put out, whether it's a TV show, a movie, a book, an actor, actress. And he's just like, it's unfair for a Black person to carry the weight of everything Black or be the spokesperson. And he was also saying, and then you get scrutinized when you criticize anything that is considered Black. So it's a very difficult position to be in as a Black person, whether you're male or female, that you have this weight on your shoulders that we have to be pro-Black all of the time. And we can't just be neutral or just, as you stated, be a critic or be a writer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I get what you're saying because I have even passed on writing a review, even as recently on a show that's currently very popular with Black fans. And I don't like it. I don't like the show, but it's got a huge fandom and it's doing really well. And I'm glad that it obviously is doing well, because I support all the people behind it. But I'm not a fan of the show. And I was like, I'm going to pass on reviewing this because, I first and foremost, I want to support the people that are behind it. But I know I will probably get ran through the ringer from probably fans and critics alone for not liking it. But at the same time, that's not good for me as a critic. I should not let fans or other critics or anybody for that matter dictate, my opinion on content. I just elected not to review it. But you're right. I think that Black critics are put in a position that white critics are not ever put in those positions where we have to like everything that's Black. We have to support everything that's Black. And that shouldn't be the case because there are some really great Black films and television shows out there, but there's, some Black films and TV shows out there that are not good. And if it's not good, don't give it a good review. Don't feel like because, and I'm not giving advice. I'm just saying, just in generalities, like don't feel as if because I just feel like people shouldn't feel as if because, you want to support the people behind it that you can't give it a negative review. And maybe I should be listening to my own advice about that TV show. I think maybe one day I'm going to write an editorial, like an op-ed about how I feel about this show.
Shit, I think that'd
Notice
be
how I'm
great.
not mentioning the name of the show on your podcast.
And that's okay.
how. But yeah, it's a really tricky, it's a really slippery slope sometimes when it comes to that, being a critic. And then sometimes, some of us critics have relationships with the people that are the creators of some of these shows, which that gets into kind of awkward territory too, because you don't want to just give a good review just because you're friends with the writer, the producer, or anything like that. You want to always be honest and be filled with integrity when it comes to your reviews, by all accounts.
But the downside to it is, and I see both sides. I honestly do. I see the pressure of being blackballed or whitelisted or black, whatever they call it now. Someone taking things away from you. If you don't join the bandwagon and you say, hey, thumbs up, 5 stars. I see and I don't blame. Okay. It's frustrating that you can't be honest and you can't give an honest critique or opinion on something based on your interpretation. To be perfectly honest, I look at it like this. Now, why does my word hold so much value in this arena when I'm speaking on other?
Well, see, that's the thing. The more popular and the more successful you become, the more scrutiny you're going to receive.
Exactly.
And that just goes with the territory, because people will hold your work to a higher standard.
Right.
I mean, I remember getting a lot of flack because, I wasn't supporting a Black female character in fandom enough. And because I wasn't supporting her enough, people thought that I hated her, which wasn't the case. So I was getting a lot of flack for that. So people hold your work and your words they elevate it to a very high standard. And if you are not doing what the fans want you to do, then they'll criticize you for it and they'll call you out for it. So it does go with the territory of being, a public person, of being a critic, of being someone that is very visible on the internet when your words are there, because your words are seen by thousands, hundreds of thousands potentially of people. And they do carry weight. I mean, there are people that have tweeted to Black Girl Nerds and have chosen to either see a movie or not see a movie based on our reviews, so it's, I get it. I definitely get why, people hold that kind of value, because it's, it just depends on, how successful your outlet is, or how successful your website or your blog is.
Those are definitely very, all of that is a lot to consider, because it is difficult to be able to navigate in waters like that where you're not allowed to just freely express yourself. Or if you do express yourself, all of the backlash that you'll get or scrutiny because of something you may have said, whether it be in support of or not. Or a lot of times people get a lot of backlash because they don't say anything. They're quiet.
Yep.
I've seen that happen. So there is a lot to consider when you're thinking of, a business becoming something that you're doing and it becomes accepted or becomes popular. There's so much that you have to mentally prepare yourself for. And there's so much thrown at you, as you stated at one time, so quickly. And if you are not groomed, if you're not prepared, or even if you don't have the right people around you to help navigate these waters. And it's more than just money. Most people think it's the money, but there's a social aspect of this. There's identity is associated with this as well. So there's a lot to navigate. Okay. With that being said, how do you manage to keep your persona from being attacked? Or if it is, how do you handle that to keep, your personal life and your professional life separate? Or are you still working it out?
Ooh, that's a great question too. Well, you can't prevent getting attacked, right, when you're an online personality, because it does, again, go with the territory. But what I do is I disconnect from social media. I don't deal with the trolls, because when you feed them, then that gives them strength, and their strength comes in numbers as well. So disconnecting from social media, in my case, Twitter, has been the best way to deal with it. I don't tweet as much from my personal account like I used to. A lot of that has to do with the fact that, to be honest with you, I am so busy, like it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm managing a company with right now about 10 to 15 writers. I do my, stock trading on the side. I'm taking phone calls every day from different business partnerships, whether it's ad buys for my site, whether it's people that want to do podcast ad opportunities with me, whether it's people that want me to moderate a panel or do a Q&A with them or do podcast interview. So, I'm always so busy every single day. And then I'm, just writing content myself and doing interviews on behalf of Black Girl Nerds as well. And then watching movies because I'm a part of a critics organization, and that's part of my job as well, is to watch as many movies as I can. So I do a lot, and I don't even have time to be on Twitter anymore like I used to, which is probably a big part of why I wasn't really paying attention to my business like I should have, because I was spending too much time on Twitter. So to answer your question, that's really the best way I separate my personal life from my public life, is to just disconnect and just use my professional social media accounts to stay engaged, which is what I use to market Black Girl Nerds. I don't really use the professional account on a personal level like I used to as much, because that was something I used to do. I used to use the Black Girl Nerds account to just tweet to people and talk to them casually. And that was something that was a little unorthodox, but it was something that helped build the community and the following. And I do have someone that helps me do that every now and then to, keep people engaged. But I don't do it as much because, again, I just don't have the time. So I focus on, delivering content. If we do get opportunities to live tweet stuff, it's going to be for sponsorship, branding purposes. We've moved beyond just live tweeting stuff, for free. Right. Truth be told, we've moved past that era. So that's kind of where we are with, and that's kind of where I am when it comes to dealing with that. I just don't give enough people space, in my head and in my psyche to stay there long enough to where I'm confronting them, which is why I don't engage in negativity. So yeah, like when people attack me online, I just don't engage, because it's not worth it. And I know probably there'll be people that'll be like, oh yeah, but you used to do that on Black Girl Nerds account. Yeah, but I was really immature back then. I mean, it's amazing how a situation or situations can really mature you very quickly and make you reevaluate your own behavior. So I've just decided to take the Michelle Obama approach to life. To life and everything. So, I can't deal with people's negativity anymore. And if people want to be negative, I know at the end of the day that it's usually about them more than it's about me, that it's usually about some sort of shortcoming or some sort of, issue that you have, and less about, the direct attack on me. Especially if it's something that you're continuing to pursue over and over and over and over again. So yeah, I just kind of let it go.
Well, that is very mature within itself. So yes, I see growth and I hear the growth. That's really, honestly, whether that's you take that advice professionally or personally, that is very good advice. The point is, And I heard Issa Rae say the same thing, and she gets a lot of comments on her show. And she also mentioned she used to be very active in responding to tweets right when they happen, and she'd freak out, and she just said, you know what, I can put this down. And that's what she's done. So growth is where it is. And if you're able to see where you may have been the reason why things went the wrong way, you got to take a step back and, as you stated, reevaluate. But that's how we came.
We have so much control.
We do.
Over how we receive hate. We have so much control. Like, I think when it comes to like cyberbullying and stuff, it's obviously more impressionable on young people because young people haven't built enough wisdom enough to cope with it. And I forget what age it is, but they say that your front cortex in your brain, I think, doesn't fully develop until you're like 25. So, we're still growing. Our brains are still growing. We're still trying to learn and assess behaviors. So cyberbullying has a huge impact on young people. But when you get to an age when you're in your 30s, when you're in your 40s, and some of these people online are in their 30s and 40s attacking people, which shame on you. When you're at that age and you're doing it, and you're in this case, you're the person on the receiving end getting the attacks. You don't have to take that. Put the phone down. Put that person on ignore. Or block that person. Because you have full autonomy and control over your peace, over your joy. So you don't have to deal with that. One of my cousins had texted me a while back, and she was getting attacked online in the gaming community. Just really nasty racial, racist, attacks and stuff. And I just told her, I know that you want to continue playing the game. Just put the game down, walk away, and just don't deal with it right now. Because she really wanted to finish the game, but she was getting attacked. And then she's, texting me, asking me for advice. I'm like, that's what you really need to do, is just put the game away, because at the end of the day, it's just not worth the agony and the pain and, this feeling of just, being attacked, and remembering that this is just an anonymous person on the internet. They don't know you from Adam. And when this person ever meets you in person, they would never say it to your face.
Agreed. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. And most of these people are very bold. Yeah.
Trust me, I know. I've been in this situation where people have attacked me online. I'll see them in person. I don't hear from you all of a sudden. Like, okay, where's the fire?
People are very bold because people are very bold behind that screen and that keyboard, and because they are able to be anonymous. So yeah, they take advantage of that opportunity. And we also have to remember that you have people who are specifically on the internet to do just that. That's because they built a following based on being insulting, being racist, whatever it is. You just like you have people who are working on the positive side of the front to become famous and popular and have followers and things of that nature. You've also got people who get the same type of awareness because they are negative. I had someone tell me, don't let them get your goat. I had someone tell me that one time, and I didn't understand what that meant. But, you have to understand that there are people out there to do the exact opposite of what you're doing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You're preaching to the choir. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it. I've literally seen people, create videos and, create content off of people's demise and get like tons of followers off of, attacking that other person. And then that's their MO. Like, that's what they do. Cause they're like, I just got, 10,000 new followers off of this video on this hit piece on this person. And, they're like, okay, I could make this a thing, and that's how they roll in the internet streets, and that doesn't last. And people in the background, they'll see it. They'll see the behavior, and they'll know that that's not somebody I want to work with. That's not somebody I want to do a business deal with. That's not somebody I, want to have a partnership with. Because if they are capable of doing that to another person, then what makes me, how do I know that person isn't going to turn around and do that to me if things go sour between our,
That's true. Unless, of course, they have a big tabloid out there that is willing to, provide them with whatever means that they need to keep their momentum going. But yeah, we just have to kind of keep that in mind. Living in the public eye, there's a lot of people who are either there to help you grow, support, and then you also have those out there who are just as determined to watch you fail. For whatever reason, they get designed. Right. They enjoy doing that. But Jamie, we are narrowing down on our time, and I'm so thankful to you for sharing everything that you shared today. I do greatly appreciate it. But what I'm going to allow you to do at this time is if you have anyone you want to thank, give a shout out to, if you have additional advice, or just let people know projects that you're available to announce. Where can we find you? What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me give a shout out to All Street Investing. So allstreetinvesting.com. That is not my company, but that is the group that I am in that has taught me how to learn how to stock trade, day trade, options. I do cryptocurrency as well. So shout out to them if any of you listening are into trying to invest in your financial future. Check those guys out. As far as what I'm doing right now, I'm in full Black Girl Nerds mode. So Black Girl Nerds is my full-time job. This is what I do for a living. So I right now am just focusing on, content and building that up. We do have a partnership with a company called Row 8. They do straight to like home premieres from, because obviously the theaters right now in some states are closed. So some of the home premieres, they'll stream it on their network. Well, we have a channel with Row 8. Definitely, check that out. Row 8, shout out to them. Subscribe to our newsletter because we always do giveaways and give you exclusives on fun stuff. And, you know where to find me. Black Girl Nerds is the Twitter. Jamie Broadnax is my personal. Every now and then I might pop on there.
All
we'll
right.
see. But that's pretty much what's going
Jamie,
on.
I have thoroughly enjoyed our discussion today. I do greatly appreciate you again for finding time in your busy schedule to add me. Very appreciative. You are welcome back anytime. Yeah. Please stay safe and continued success. And thank you for everything that you do. It's greatly appreciated and needed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. This was a great discussion. I enjoyed chatting with you.
Here. Have a good one. We've come to the close of another episode of the End User Talk podcast. I hope that what you've heard today will leave you feeling empowered. Thank you for listening. And remember, every day's a training day.